Originally went in and tried to put a line right in here, but my goodness, that thing was burning way too hot. So we found this road that goes back through this whole logging trail. So I'm blowing it out and we're back burning up into that line you can see right there. So anyways, we'll see when I get a video out today. If it may be later tonight, I don't know. I know what I'm going to talk about, but just don't know when I'll get to it. Get your house in order, folks. Catch you later. Hey folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Yes, I just got done with that fire. I have not cleaned up at all. I had a swig of water and then came back out here to get this video going because my internet's messed up. That's why I didn't do a live stream last night. It's extremely slow. It's nothing. There's no conspiracy. I use Starlink to upload videos. It's the fastest way I can do it. I can do it on my cell phone with the cellular internet, but it's extremely slow out here. So we do have Starlink. I know you can talk about what Elon Musk is and he's doing. I get it, but it's the only way I can efficiently upload videos and stuff. So anyways, it's not been working. I've been trying to figure out what was going on. You know, it's got the satellite and cable runs down and inside the building. And I got to looking, and just before it goes inside the building, looks like a mouse or a chipmunk or something's been chewing on the cable. It's not all the way through, but it's enough that it's non-functioning. So I got to get a new cable for that. So anyways, I wanted to get this going because I have no clue how long it's going to take this to upload. I want to talk to you about this Missouri thing. I know that some of you, well, I know a lot of you probably are not in Missouri, but I ask that you please stay with me because this does affect everyone. Right now, the big fight is in Missouri, but I'd say it's going to be in a lot of places. We know it's in other states. It's just not hit the big fight yet. And some of you have been paying attention to this for the last few days. Last week, I made a few videos on this subject. And I've gotten more information, and there's been more that's come out about it. And this is serious. Now, I had planned on doing a whole different video for this, but I also wasn't planning on being on 2 different fire calls for over 5 hours, 6 hours, or whatever, however long I've been gone now. And I'm just tired, and I don't feel like doing the way that I wanted to do this. So I'm just going to let her rip, and sometimes that works out better. To give a quick recap for those of you that haven't been paying attention to this, there is a piece of legislation trying to make its way through the Missouri State Legislature. It's called Senate Bill SB 727. Now, I know that some of you have looked it up. You can read it, and you're like, well, it doesn't sound too bad, right? It's not terrible. I don't see anything that says that they're going to take your guns away or that they're going to throw you in jail for homeschooling and all that. Most legislation that's that extreme doesn't say that kind of stuff. That's why there's so many attorneys that work in government and in law, because they know how to word things in such a sneaky little backdoor way to at least open the door. So it's not that it's establishing any kind of statute or code, criminal code or anything. It's simply opening the doorway. And so this Senate Bill 727 is in regards to it's a school funding. Okay, it's school funding. It's talking about school choice funding and all that kind of stuff. It has nothing really to do with homeschooling whatsoever. And Missouri is one of the freest states when it comes to homeschooling. That's why we do it, and that's why so many people, I know countless people that have moved to Missouri specifically because of its free homeschooling laws. In this piece of legislation towards the end, there is a little paragraph. And in that paragraph, it says that this bill will redefine homeschool. Redefine homeschool. And the way it's written, it doesn't flat out plainly say that, but it's redefining homeschool to school. And then above that, it lists all these statutes that will apply to that changing of the definition. Now, when I first came out with this, I said that this opens the door, the possibility of a gun grab, that they could say, hey, your homeschool is now legally defined as a school, and if you have a loaded weapon in your home, then that's a felony, and because it's a school also, and so we're going to take that, or we could destroy your lives. Well, there kind of became a little bit of a tussle. A prominent homeschool organization and a prominent gun group here in Missouri both released statements stating that this is not true and that they don't see any possibility of this. And I'm not naming names or anything. And I, there's still a level of respect for these organizations because they have done an immense amount of good in the past, but they're wrong on this one. And part of their argument is that, well, there is legislation just like this on the books in at least 3 other states: California, Illinois, and New York. And that they couldn't find any case law in those 3 states indicating that this wording in this law that's similar was used to take guns out of homeschool homes. And so they felt that it probably wasn't going to be used against homeschoolers. Now, let's just pause for a moment. It's possible that the reason why it's not being used in those 3 states is because they already have extremely restrictive gun laws. And maybe they don't need it because they've got restrictive gun laws and anything else. And by the way, let's just stop for a moment and ask, why in the world, what kind of person is okay with passing legislation in Missouri that's similar to only these other liberal states? What in the world? What kind of representative? You ones that consider yourselves conservative, why are you passing legislation that mimics liberal states? Now, aside from the gun issue, there's been several organizations that's got into this, and there's at least 27, 28 other things in this bill that are unconstitutional, according to the Missouri State Constitution, even some according to the federal U.S. Constitution. It's a completely bad bill. And I've talked to people that's actually supporting this bill, and they admit that it's a bad bill. They admit that it's poor wording, that it's awful. But yet they still support it. And that to me is just insane. This is why I can't stand politics. This is why I got out of politics 15, 20 years ago. Because people, they get into politics and they lose sight of what's really going on. They see it as just a game. It's this challenge of left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. And they get in their head that everything can be fixed through legislation and through Republican Party or Democrat Party. And they forget that there's something way bigger going on. In fact, the political parties are just a tiny little distraction. And that what really is going on is this big global takeover to destroy our freedom, to destroy our traditional values, to destroy the liberty that many of us hold very dear to us. And a lot of times these politicians or these people that work in political groups, organizations that try to get legislations going and stuff, while they may have a good heart, so many times they forget that it's way bigger. What's going on is way, way bigger than politics. Anyways, because I'm rambling, so let's try to get back on track. So, and I cannot remember the guy's name. It's been a long day. It's hot here and fighting a fire. It was really hot. I can't remember it. I think the name's Dave Rowland. If I'm incorrect, please forgive me, but I will try to put a screenshot of it up here, and it's a 6-page opinion. It's almost written like an amicus brief. And he came out, and he gave his opinion on this bill. And the reason why he is so important is because he's probably the most prominent conservative constitutional attorney in the state of Missouri, and one of the more prominent ones in the United States. This guy has a very lengthy, very prominent record of constitutional law. And so this guy's opinion really, in a lot of ways, trumps all the other opinions in many ways. And his 6-page brief pretty much says exactly what I've been saying, okay? Pretty much exactly what I've been saying. And that it does open that doorway. It's not necessarily saying, absolutely, once this bill is passed, you have committed a crime for homeschooling because of this, and this. It's opening that doorway. And going back to what I was just saying a minute ago about people working in politics, that they lose sight. These other organizations have said that, well, we don't really think or feel or whatever that a prosecutor would really use this. And what they don't realize, they think everyone is looking at it as a political game. They don't realize that there are people out there, there are attorneys, prosecutors, judges, that absolutely hate who you are. They absolutely hate what you stand for. They hate what you believe. They hate the fact that you read your Bible, that you worship God, and you believe in Jesus Christ. They hate the fact that you raise your children traditionally. They hate the fact that you homeschool. They hate it that you're pro-life, and they hate it that you have guns. They absolutely hate that. There are many people that absolutely hate that, and many of those people are in positions of power. And you open this little doorway, and while it may be just a crack, it's still an opening, because beforehand, there's nothing in Missouri law that gives any authority whatsoever by the state to do this kind of stuff when you homeschool. But yet this one does. This bill does. And it's opening a little crack. And any of those activists, George Soros-funded prosecutors and judges, and there are many in the state of Missouri, especially up in the St. Louis area, there are some of the most liberal ones in the country. They could take this and they could run with it. And if they win, they've established case law. And guess what? Even if they don't, because this is what some of those other opposing view organizations were saying, well, we think in the end that the court system would support homeschoolers and gun rights. So in other words, you're willing to basically jeopardize a homeschool family, like use them as a guinea pig, because what's going to happen is that they're going to come into their home and they're going to take everything. They may lose their home. They may lose their firearms. Their children could potentially be put into foster care systems. They're going to have all kinds of information on you. And yeah, maybe in the end they might win, but look at what's been destroyed up until that point. There's so much in this bill that's wrong. In fact, part of this bill is the ability for them to collect so much data on your homeschool, your student, your homeschool. That's part of this bill. It's not really, the gun part really is a tiny, tiny part of it, or possibility. There's a lot in this that's awful. Now, I know that some of you are saying, well, but this is horrible, but this is Missouri. Well, there are at least 4 or maybe 5 states that we know of that also have legislation with similar wording in it. I believe Kansas, Nebraska, Tennessee, maybe Arkansas even has legislation that's out there, or at least that's being talked about, that's similar to this. And just before you start to say, sounds like some of those communists, George Soros, globalist organizations that are doing this, you would be wrong. Actually, it's being funded in massive, massive ways by the big government Republican organizations. In fact, I've been told on very good authority by several people that's worked in Missouri politics for a long, long time, that they have never, ever seen as much money being spent in Missouri just to pass one bill, that it's absolutely astronomical. I've heard from state reps that are saying that they are terrified to vote against this because they have been told if they do not support this bill, that this big money will come into Missouri and that they will run people against them and spend millions of dollars. This stuff has to stop. Now, if you've listened to me any length of time, you know that I despise politics at this point. I can't stand it. The only reason why I'm standing firm on this one and I'm making such a big noise is because what it means. What it means if this gets passed and then some activist prosecutor decides to go crazy with it. What it means for me is you've crossed that final red line. You try to come into my home and take my children out of it. You try to come into my home and take my guns. You try to take my home away from me. You try to forcibly put my kids in public indoctrination centers or even foster homes because I've done nothing wrong, only because the slight little changing of the wording, then you've crossed a red line. And I suspect that's going to be the case with most of you homeschoolers. You know, I said something to someone the other day about this. I said, you know, while maybe not every gun owner in the state of Missouri is a homeschooler, I suspect that the vast majority, if not all, homeschoolers are in fact gun owners in the state of Missouri. And I know that many feel the same way, that you're crossing a red line here if you're going to change the wording and the definition of homeschool in Missouri to make it as similar to public schools, and then think you're going to come into my home and regulate how I teach my children and how I've raised my children, then we're going to have a very, very serious problem at our hands. And they're walking down a very dangerous road with this. And I encourage you to stand up and speak out. Last week when I made the video, I found out, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I found out that after that video, that we slammed the state capitol with phone calls. And I need you folks to continue to do that. Tomorrow, please be calling. If you're able to, call 2-3 times a week and follow up that phone call with an email. Whoever your state rep is, follow up that phone call with an email and tell them absolutely do not. Be polite, but tell them you will not support them any longer by a vote or any other way if they support Senate Bill 727. For those of you that don't live in Missouri, number one, you need to start checking on your own state and see what type of school funding or school choice funding legislation that there might be, and start reading it very carefully. But also, you need to be notifying people that you're family and friends with that may live in Missouri. And if nothing else, start posting it on social media. That did so much. The videos and the topic was going viral the other day when I made the similar video. You need to do that again, and we need to stay on it. The last day, I believe, is either May 10th or May 17th for the session. And if we can make it till then, that the bill is dead this year. We need to be doing that. If you want to read that legal opinion, I have posted it over on my Twitter X account. I've also posted it on my locals page, the full PDF of it. I would encourage you to read that. If you've read the other legal opinions and like, well, maybe Travis is wrong on this one, you need to read this one. This guy, he knows way more about, this is his specialty. And I'm telling you, it's a scary thing that they're doing, and we need to stop it. This may be one of those final stand type of thing, because I'm telling you, if they decide to come into your home or to my home for the issues that they've talked about, we're going to have an issue. We're going to have a problem. It's not going to happen. Folks, you need to be doing this. You need to be making the phone calls, sending the emails. And for those of you in other states, please be reading all of the stuff that's going on. Start looking for anything that has to do with school funding, school choice, different types of funding in that way, and start reading those bills, because it's possible it's elsewhere. It's time to get our houses in order. And this is one of those reasons why we do what we do. We need to be preparing folks mentally, physically, and spiritually. These people out here, they hate us. It's time for us to start training like it and behaving like it, and get yourselves ready. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.